All right, so welcome to the Regenerative Video Chats. Normally we start with a short round of introductions, so name, organization, and I was thinking that we could also mention what you're hoping to talk about today to help us guide the call after we finish the introductions. Does that sound okay? I can point at people on my screen to have them start. So the first people in the top corner for me are Marilyn and Chris. You want to start?
Hi, we are Marilyn and Chris. We run the Hummingbird Project, which works internationally with farmers in India, teaching about the living soil to help them transition from chemical to organic. We also work with school kids in East Africa, setting up sustainability infrastructure, and at home we run the Cleveland Seed Bank. I guess our goal always with this is to not have our phone go off in the middle of introductions. Oh, sorry about that. We can edit that out of the recording. Our goal is always to think about how to take this larger RI initiative and all the good things and bring it to our subsistence marginalized farmers who may not have access to the internet or, all the good stuff going on. So that's our goal. So yeah, we're happy to be here.
Nice, thanks Marilyn and Chris. Scott, you want to go for it?
Hey everybody, I'm Scott Funkhouser, and I work with the Organic Consumers Association and a bunch of the sub-organizations down south of the border here in Mexico. So that includes Regeneration International, Via Organica, that also includes the new OCA Español, which will be launching pretty soon, Millones contra Monsanto, and I'm primarily the technologist IT guy, so I'll be helping Alex co-host this meeting.
Thanks, Scott. Always appreciate your co-hosting. All right, Brian.
Hi, my name is Brian Jordan. I also work with the Organic Consumers Association. I am here because I'm interested in how we can roll the concept of regenerative agriculture into positive action in state policy. I have a few thoughts about that in terms of a working group, but I can get to that later in the meeting. That's one of the big reasons why I'm here.
Awesome, thanks Brian. We'll definitely have to come back to that. John.
Hey, I'm John Connors. I've founded Regenerative Action, which is like a small little rapid prototyping for regenerative communications. Call it laboratory / actionable, using myself as a dummy kind of. I recently rode a bicycle through the Central Valley, highlighting the possibility for regenerative agricultural projects throughout the Central Valley of California. I'm going to be going into the wilderness and completing a book about the experience. And then when I get out, I'm debating new different perspectives, possibly a combination bicycle ride with a sail kayak, combined to talk about regenerating oceans as well as regeneration of land, and look to sell the book and continue to proselytize the message of reformation, regeneration, and restoration.
Wow, John, that's awesome. I think we're all excited about your book. I'd just like to say welcome to the new callers. We're doing a round of introductions. Please remember to mute your mic. Shout out to Ursi and Precious joining all the way from Morocco. Okay, Adam, you're next.
My name's Adam Sachs, and Brian just signed up to come to our conference. So Brian, I look forward to meeting you in person. And I am with Biodiversity for a Livable Climate, and we are having a conference called The Power and Promise of Biodiversity, Visions for Restoring Land, Sea, and Climate on Saturday. Lots of great speakers. And in general, we advocate for regeneration of all ecosystems, and we do a lot of educating and networking to that end. And hi, Judy.
Hi, Adam.
Judy, you're up next.
Okay, thank you. My name is Judy Schwartz, and I'm based in Southern Vermont. I'm a journalist and author of the book Cows Save the Planet and Other Improbable Ways of Restoring Soil to Heal the Earth, which came out in 2013. And right now, my new book, Water in Plain Sight, Hope for a Thirsty World, will be out in July. I'm beginning to get some endorsements and reviews and speaking gigs. So my interest here is how I can use whatever platform that I have for the book to promote ideas of regeneration and restoration and encourage people to make the connections between water, climate, and soil.
That's amazing. We've got two writers here. Thanks, Judy. Celia and Precious, will you introduce yourself, name, organization, where you are, and what you'd like to talk about today? I think you're on mute. You got to unmute. So good to see your face.
Down in the left-hand corner, if you can hear us.
Yeah, down in the, can you hear us? Okay, let's troubleshoot it.
There we go.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Let's see how well the audio works from Morocco.
Hi. We're introducing ourselves.
Okay. Hi, Scott. Okay, so my name is Precious Piri. I'm from Zimbabwe. I've been doing a lot of networking for RI and other organizations who are involved in regenerative organic agriculture, but I also run a network called Earth Wisdom. I'm a founding director there, but right now we are a group of colleagues and we're busy collaborating with communities, wildlife trusts, just everybody doing permaculture, and we've started reaching out to about 9 communities now with a group of my friends, and so I think it's working out well. And right now we are in Morocco, Meknes, attending the International Agri Show. Today we attended 4P1000 convention. So that's what we'll be talking about today. But yes, hi.
Hi. And I'm Celia Precious. I work out of Mexico with the Regeneration International and OCA team. So we do a lot of advocacy and policy campaigning around consumers issues. Mexico. We're getting pillows. I'm sorry. Yes.
Your video's frozen.
Sorry, guys.
It's a very strange situation right here. We're like in the middle of this rooftop. It looks just like Mexico. It's amazing. We were woke up by a rooster this morning early. Before that, the prayer song right before dawn. It was very strange. Anyway, so we came to this 4x1000 meeting. It was very interesting. The French minister was here, and we're going to tell you all about it. But basically, the governance and the structure of the 4x1000 was set today. And we look great usually, but this is not the best day because we've been traveling for 2 days and we're kind of tired.
You both look beautiful. You both look beautiful.
Okay. Oh wait, we are beautiful.
Thanks for the introduction.
And young.
And young. Okay, thanks guys. Alexis, you're next on my screen. Oh, awesome! You joined by video. Can you hear us? Oh, we can't hear you, Alexis. Are you using phone and computer? Hello?
I am. Is that good now?
Yeah, that works.
Okay, sorry about this. I'm still trying to figure out the Zoom, but I'm Alexis. I'm the political director of the Organic Consumers Association, and I work in Washington, D.C.
Great. Welcome, Alexis. I'm not able to identify the next people because there's no name, so I don't know who else is on the call joining by phone. If there's someone named 123.
Colin user. Yeah, let's jump to Colin user, who I believe is Eric.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm a general advocate of biomass thermal conversion at the very small scales, cook stoves that create charcoal or biochar, and at the really large scale, big industries using gasifiers and pyrolysis reactors to make biochar and energy. There are many of these online in the United States and in Europe and Australia. But for most of the people on this conversation, I really suggest looking at these small cook stoves for the third world, because the benefits are so broad. Soils and respiratory health, and that's my thing. I wanted to add, whoever just was speaking about the French agricultural programs, I think this is the most important development with the recognition of the value of soil carbon that's ever come down the pike. And I was so happy with the COP21 conference when they made these initiatives worldwide.
Nice, thanks, Eric. We'd really love if you could post some links to your initiatives with cook stoves into the collaborative Google Doc so that we can learn more.
Yeah, I have trouble with the Google Docs.
Okay. That's okay.
But anyone who, well, I'll be happy to send an email to anyone who's interested.
Yeah, that would be great. Thanks, Eric. Maybe just respond to the thread that we started about the Zoom link. Everybody should be copied there.
I want to also mention several people on the call today I know from the Soil Age discussion forum. You can just Google Soil Age, and many of my postings and anything I talk about, I always copy Soil Age, which I can't say enough about because there are so many really influential people who are subscribed to this discussion forum.
Yeah, thanks, Eric. I can post a link in the document if people want to sign up. Scott, who's next?
Okay, so moving down the line, it looks like a 607 area code, and I believe that's from Googling
that's
New York
me.
State. Is that Finian?
It's Finian. Hey guys.
Hey, Finian, what's happening?
I'm good. Fortunately, I have to jump off this call in a couple minutes, but love all of you guys so much. Everyone's doing such great work. I have one huge major push. Kiss the Ground's doing a lot of reformatting this year. Really excited about everything that's happening. But I wanted to share quickly, because I have to jump off in a couple of seconds. We've been working on looking at the future of connecting brands and people who are interested in becoming involved or connecting with regenerative product sourcing worldwide. And that, along with 44000's request and along with building this movement, I'm a huge advocate and really, really pushing that this group or something like this group commits to finishing in the next 6 months or less, finishing a complete Rolodex of all of the regenerative farmers and or advocates, so that we can have, as an international community, a database that allows for these connections to be made. A really big shining example is we were just working with a company who had hired someone to find out if there were regenerative cotton farmers, and their report for the month of work came back that there are no substantial moving towards regenerative or regenerative cotton farmers in the US. And within one call to my buddy Ray at the NRCS, I was able to link up with, 10 of the biggest regenerative cotton farmers in the US, but that's because of a connection through the NRCS who has a more secure database of those people and knows those people personally. So that's just one anecdotal evidence of there are so many cases where someone is trying to penetrate and get into this and wants to be involved heavily with regenerative, and or farmers who are experts for converting farms or transitioning farms or getting connections made for people who are looking at city development. Whatever it may be, these can be categorized in the database. For example, you can get as particular as cotton farmers or this type of farmer, but I feel like this is something that is desperately needed this year to galvanize the movement, and additionally, it will allow for any current measurement data, for example, with these cotton farmers that are already doing and have been doing measurements for the last 3 years through the NRCS, connected with them on SOM increases on those farms. So this is the thing for, you know, whether it's Zimbabwe or whether it's France or any of these other people, I think that it's kind of a no-brainer that there should exist a database that's filled out that allows for anyone to say, hey, you know what, I live in this place, I want to access this person, these are their expertise, this is the fields that they're most close to or tied to, that should be able to be accessed. So that's really what I'm pushing for the Regeneration Hub and the affiliation of that to focus on. I know that I can't just bulldoze my way and decide how it's going to go, but I think it's in the long run going to help all of the initiatives for that to exist, and for people who are outside of the immediate circle of RI to be connected and affiliated with this. For example, farmers who are more closely connected with the NRCS as an example, and I'm sure there's other state people who are involved via France's initiative in France or any other country that we haven't necessarily had the avenue to tap because of the kind of small scale of who is involved directly with RI currently. So that's my proposal. Unfortunately, I have to jump, so sorry, but yeah, so thank you guys for listening, and sorry I had to, I'm with Kiss the Ground. I'm one of the co-founders and policy director and partnership developer. So thanks for listening.
Thanks, Finn. I'll be in touch with you about your Regeneration Now idea because it's along the lines of what we're thinking, and I'll fill in the others after.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Keep rocking.
Happy trails.
Cheers.
All right. The next up is a 212 number. 212-715.
Oh, that could be me. It's Brianne Chyon here from Finn Partners and with Shima International. And I also have my colleague Mizuki Yamamoto as well on the phone. Actually, she's, I think she connected through the computer, but we're both here representing Shima International, which is a Japanese nonprofit that does natural agriculture around the world. We have networks of farmers, over 1,000 farms in Japan, and we're also in Latin America, in Europe, the United States. So actually following up on Finn's comment about the database, we did want to hear about that, if there's ways that we can contribute. And then I just wanted to really listen in on how we can support the work that you all are doing, and also to mention that I was just at the True Cost of Food conference out in San Francisco. I don't know if folks were aware of that. It was organized by the Sustainable Food Trust. And, oh, okay, yeah. And yeah, Hans was there, Hans Herren from BioVision Millennium Institute, and a number of other folks, but there definitely was quite a bit in the agenda and among speakers speaking about carbon farming, and even the terminology, regenerative farming was definitely coming up a lot more. It's the first actual event actually outside of the Costa Rica meeting that we had that I've been hearing so much more of that terminology. So I think that's a really positive thing. And yeah, just happy to be participating.
Nice. Thanks for joining, Brianne. And the name of your colleague was Nuzuki. Is that pronounced correctly?
Mizuki.
Okay.
Yeah,
Welcome.
Mizuki.
And it's great to reconnect with Shima.
Great.
So the next one is a 703 number.
That's a Northern Virginia number.
You're so familiar with the area code, Scott. Well done.
I've got the internet at my disposal.
That's my line.
Oh, that's you, Alexis?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, great. So I think we might be through the round of introductions unless there's anyone missing. We didn't actually hear from Nuzuki. Nuzuki, if you'd like to say a few words or introduce yourself.
She actually doesn't have the microphone on her phone, so she's actually, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well.
Okay, she's taking notes though.
Okay, great. That's awesome.
Okay.
Well, so that was a long round. This is the most people I think we've ever had on a call, and so that was a pretty long round of introductions, but it's so amazing to have you all here. Two of the common themes that seemed to come up of things people were interested in talking about were the 4 per 1,000, and I think it would be great to hear from Precious and Ursi because they're there in Morocco at this important formative event. And then also this idea of a database or something that we've been working on here at RI called the Regenerative Hub. So is there any other themes that have come up that people feel they'd like to talk about today? Also Brian's theme of the policy, what was it, Brian? It was state policy, regenerative ag and state policy. That was another one.
Yeah, working group. I was thinking of putting together.
Okay, is there anything else? We have about half an hour left. Maybe we get started with those two items and then see how much time we have. That's okay with people? Okay, let's go for it. I don't hear any objections. Precious and Ursi, do you want to tell us about what's happening in Morocco right now?
You didn't hear any objections because we're all on mute.
I know. Speak up.
You gotta give people 2 minutes at least. To unmute and then.
Looks like you hit mute again, Ursi. Maybe you can also stop your video. That might improve the bandwidth if you see that button on the bottom left.
It'll improve your
sound. Stop my video. Stop.
It's right next to the mute button in the bottom left-hand corner.
You gotta slow down, but it's right next to what? Oh, wait, so stop video. All right. Okay. Well, should we start or what do you guys think?
Yeah, go for it. You guys should start because I know it's late for you and yeah, got a long travel.
Okay, just briefly, a 1 minute explanation why we're here, right? Why the Precious and I ended up coming to Magnus for this conference. About around 1 month ago, March 9th, and Alexis may be able to tell us more about it than I do, but March 9th, we had the first presentation as RI of the 4 per 1,000 project. That was at the National Press Club in Washington. And we had, lots of our scientists. When I say our scientists, I mean like Andre Loy and Tim LaSalle, and all those folks came to speak at the National Press Club. We had the presence of the French embassy there. And while we're there, we were lucky enough to be able to have sort of like a promise or follow-up from the French agricultural attaché in Washington about having a second presentation of the 4 per 1,000 initiative in Mexico, where Regeneration International also works. I don't know how aware you guys are about how many people, like countries and organizations, have signed up for the 4 per 1,000. But so far in the whole world, this is like latest data that we got today, but there's about 33 countries that have signed up to it. 18 international organizations, 26 research institutes and college universities, 48 NGO civil society groups, 26 technical organizations and producer organizations. Here we're considering organizations like IFOAM, for instance. And then the private sectors, that's 27 parties or 27 members. When it comes down to countries in Latin America, we only have Uruguay, Costa Rica, and Mexico. So it made sense for us, given that we were, yes, it's a total of 168 signatures. Precious is pointing out, we had a total of, now you distracted me. Oh, it made sense, sorry, to start in Mexico, since, you know, we're already doing work there as Regeneration International. After we did our presentation in Washington, and after we had the second presentation April 18th in Mexico City, we still had the same questions as most of us were asking about the 4.1,000. Well, how is the structure of this? What's the governance? Who's going to give the money? Who's going to disperse the funds? Who's going to select the projects? And so we found out that there was going to be a conference in Meknes prior to the COP22 to kind of like set the governance of structure and the roadmap for the 4.1,000 for the next months before November in Marrakesh. So that brought Precious and myself here. We had our mission was, on the one hand, we wanted to make sure we completely fully understood what the roadmap was and how we could, as Regeneration International, be part of this governance structure. We wanted to bring aboard a consortium or like an executive board for 4.1,000 people like Andre Loy, and meet with the French representatives and the French responsibles for the initiative here to be able to also replicate some of his experiences in other countries where Regeneration International works. So with that purpose in mind, today we went to the conference, started pretty early, and we can go a little bit over the agenda and some of the things that we highlighted. One of them pretty important, I believe, for Africa, and I will let Precious go on with that and then go over the agenda a little bit more. Okay. So Precious?
Yeah, so, okay, we just came in, but I think we can basically share a few of the things that we caught on. We're probably going to write more and you guys can read about it. So the biggest thing was that we still need to remain committed to the agreement in Paris so that we don't leave it behind and jump onto COP22. So the COP22 is basically actioning COP21. So it's a COP of action. And so these guys, we did a lot of talking today. I mean, there were a lot of talks on the money being pulled into Africa, and there's suddenly a very big group that has been formed, or an initiative called AAA, which is Adaptation of African Agriculture, which will promote the 4P1000 implementation in Africa. And of course, it's in partnership with many ministers. So there were lots of ministers who had come in to support the French government, both from Africa and the European side. So everybody really said out that they are in support, which was really good. And so out of the 100 billion money that has been set to support climate solutions initiatives in Africa, 30 billion is going to be channeled to agriculture. So that was very nice. To be honest with you, we enjoyed the French minister. Yeah. It was so good to hear the power or the energy towards action that was said out. So the structure in basic of this consortium that Essie just spoke about, it will be a big partnership between AAA and the 4P1000. And so everybody is involved. But the structure of the consortium is we'll have consultants, which is like a consultation body, and then we have decision makers, and we have the scientists. So I don't know whether I'm moving too fast. Is it okay?
Yeah, it's all good.
Okay. So all these four persons, they make up what will make the action for the 4P1000. That's the basic structure. And do you have anything more to add?
Well, so you mentioned, yes. So there's going to be, that's fine, the body of the structure. So there's going to be this consortium, which is more like a governmental body or a governmental structure, but it's not made up of governments. That's the interesting thing about this. It's all going to be non-profit, clearly, because they don't want, companies or governments to have any conflict with whatever decision is being made, whether it comes down to countries wanting more money than they should or trying to get more money for their domestic initiatives, or whether it comes down to for-profit companies or for-profit organizations trying to get money out of any sort of contract. So as Precious said, that governmental body, that consortium, is going to be actually be formed starting July 2016. They're going to create this consortium. The consortium is going to be around 25 members. Those 25 members all belong, as I said, to civil society. That's where, after talking with the people that are doing the 4 per 1,000 in France, so the responsible of the 4 per 1,000, we talk about the possibility of having Andre as part of that consortium. And I don't know what your impression was, Precious, but I think they really like the idea.
So when we approached Valerie and Dennis, I mean, it was too hard to get a meeting to sit down, but we basically said out the main reason why we are interested in this whole thing is to have one of our own as part of the board or the consortium, which they define as the people who will be moving this whole 4P1000 movement globally. And I mean, we got like really good yeses, so we feel good about it. So Valerie and Dennis, because they're the people in charge at the end of the day, they like the fact that Andre Long will be in it. So yeah, we're so excited. So I think that's what it was. And today feels like we achieved quite a bit, and we'll follow up in 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah, Scott is bugging us, and he's telling us to wrap it
I think
up.
we're done.
So yeah, we'll send you guys something written. Also, we just came back, so the ideas are still like too fresh. But as Precious said, one of the important things was like, okay, COP22 is a COP of action and implementation of COP21, and it's an African COP. Yeah.
Can I ask a very basic question about it? And I've had a lot of trouble finding really clear information about this on the web. And my question is, Ratan Lal has said that 2% increase in soil carbon would globally would offset all the emissions. And 4 per 1,000 times 5 years gives us that 2%. Is my math right here?
That's what the framework is. So supposedly they're talking about a 5-year period. So that's what we would have said, that those emissions in 2 years, and that's in 5 years. I'm sorry. That's what Le Foll said today, and that's our reintroduce initiative. Now, however, finding information, it's impossible. Before this conference, honestly, you try to do a Google search. You ask the French, the people that actually are setting the whole initiative everywhere, and they have no answers. The truth of the matter is, like, looking at the project and the calendar for 2016, not until like July to October, they're going to set up a secretariat and have a website that is active and that is being fed. So lots of this information we're going to find out through this type of conferences, but I don't think it's going to be published or official until July.
Yeah.
Well, it all sounds amazing. And it sounds like great progress in what we've been working towards. So we're going to obviously watch with great interest and do whatever we can to support it.
Yeah, no, it was really interesting, and wrapping up and fast on this. But you know, one of the promising things is that you also had countries like China and Brazil there who are not part of this initiative, and that's strange.
Yeah.
But so they had the ministers of agriculture were there today, and they were talking. The only person that mentioned regenerative agriculture was the minister of India. And that was like, wow, so really? He's talking organic and he's talking about regenerative and no tilling and cover crops and all that stuff. And but Stéphane Le Foll, you know, was very clear about, like, you guys can't be out of this. We need China, we need Brazil, we need India to be part of this. If those, well, clearly the US, but there was no one from the US there. So if those guys aren't there, you know, this is not going to happen. And I think he was very convincing and trying to make them be part of it. That's good. Yeah. So we'll send Alex a written version of this, very long and very boring. And Alex, maybe you can send it along to everyone. Okay.
Yeah, sure. I'd be happy. Whoever's interested, let me know, or I could just forward it to everyone if everyone's interested.
Or you could read it to us.
We can schedule another call. It'll be a special reading of the 4 for 1000 initiative.
Precious and I are very good with accents too, in case you didn't know. This is not my accent. Yeah, and that's not her accent either.
I think the call would be way more interesting if you guys were reading the overview because of your black.
Yeah, I can do what? You can do like India.
Brazil.
I can do Brazil.
Yeah, okay.
I'll do Brazil.
Okay.
All right, okay.
Okay, sounds good. So maybe we'll schedule a call perhaps late evening one time.
I can do Brooklyn.
There you go.
Nice.
There you go. That's right.
All right, having enough fun in here, everybody. Maybe we can start to move it on. Did anybody have any last follow-up with Lucy and Precious here?
Let's get serious.
Yeah, come on, get serious, you guys.
Stern minister up here.
Well, maybe we could move on to Brian's idea. Brian's item.
Sure.
Away, Brian.
Hi. So at the start of the year, I took on the assignment of essentially assessing the progress of regenerative agriculture legislation at the state level. There were a couple of states that seemed interesting, but really didn't go anywhere. Had some fundamental problems. There's a lot of progress being made in California, but the bottom line was that what we really wanted to do at the start of the year was find some sort of model for states to invest in regenerative agriculture projects. Sort of as a what's the term? Pilot projects to really get the ball moving on a lot of these different programs. I know California is doing the Healthy Soils Initiative. There was a policy in New Mexico that really just went down the tubes. But bottom line is we never really had that solid model legislation in place, that language that could be plugged into a state climate program and could be introduced to states all over the country. So the idea that I've been brainstorming and asking around about, and I talked a little bit with Alexis about this, is getting a working group together to essentially put together some solid language model legislation that we can blast out in an action alert and have people ask their legislators to adopt this language into state law. It's essentially one of the things that we did that really got, we as in as a movement, not as OCA. As a movement, we put together model GMO labeling legislation. We blasted it out, and then before too long, we had referendum campaigns. We had bills popping up all over the country, and progress is really starting to be made. So that was my thinking, was that we get a solid working group together, some people who know how to write legislative language, something relatively simple, something like investing in pilot projects like the Healthy Soils Initiative in California, not necessarily one that endorses any one climate solution. I know some folks in the movement like cap and trade, some don't. We can step away from that and simply work on regenerative ag language and trying to get it into state law. So that was my thinking on the matter. I met with a few folks at the Beyond Pesticide Conference from BP, Center for Food Safety. They seemed interested in at least talking about it. I like the idea, and I think that a lot of folks, I think we could get a lot of movement going in terms of legislation and state investment, as well as public awareness, if we have this infrastructure in place, this language. So that's my idea.
Okay, can I jump in? It's Judy here, and I'm from Vermont. And I don't know if you know about this, but here in Vermont, a sheep farmer who actually lives really close to me and my representative brought to the Vermont State Senate a bill called the Regenerative Farming Bill. And I went up to Montpelier with Jesse, the farmer, and people were really excited in the Agricultural Committee, and they wanted to push it forward, but it's being tabled for the next legislative session. But I can certainly put you in touch with Jesse, and then there's also an organization called Rural Vermont that has been very instrumental in this. And yeah, I can certainly loop you in because, like you said, there's no reason for everybody to kind of reinvent the language and the structure. So I can certainly do that.
And I'd love to do that. I know that there were definitely some good ideas in the Vermont bill. I've heard.
Oh, okay. So you know about that. Okay.
I've heard some criticisms, some praise, but I think that I think working with the folks that are already putting language together in Vermont, and we can all ultimately collaborate on getting the language just right. And I think it'd be great. Yeah, I'd love to talk to those people.
Great. I'll make sure to put you in touch.
All right.
If anybody else is interested, Brian forwarded me a really good overview in an email, and so I could forward that to all of you guys, and you can get in touch with him and forward it to anyone who you might think is interested in joining and forming the working group on this. So,
could I at least get a little background of what the plan of attack would be? It would basically be crafting out the language and then going after state representatives to adopt that language in legitimate bills or federal.
Whether it could be legitimate bills, it could be language that can be plugged into any kind of climate legislation. It really depends. It really depends a lot on what comes out of the working group. But I think that the general plan of attack would be to get the language just right, and then to blast it out to all of our members, saying, tell your legislator to adopt regenerative agriculture practices, or this can save the planet, change the world. Adopt this bill language, and that'll save legislators a lot of work, reinventing the wheel as well, like a lot of people have been talking about. That definitely we could bring new voices into it. States can, legislators will obviously tweak it a little bit for their own states, but I think that. And again, I've never written a bill before, so this is, so I'm definitely out on a limb a little bit, but I think that if we get the right language together, I think that we can talk to a lot of people about this, and I think that there will be legislators who would be interested in putting this kind of legislation together. So.
Cool. Just one bit of feedback. The pushback I'm getting from people as I test language in the marketplace is there an accepted definition for regenerative agriculture?
Yeah.
And I know RI was working on that, Alex and Scott, and a long time ago we talked about it. That seems to be like the primary piece that I'm consistently getting touched back on. And I'm wondering if you guys could fill in from RI where you're at with that, and is the movement ready for a consolidated definition?
I'm sorry, John, did you say regenerative agriculture or regenerative something like land management?
So regenerative agriculture was the specific pushback I've been getting, but regeneration as a whole definitely is, or regenerative development. There are many pieces of that fractal I wasn't going to dive into.
Regenerative development. No, that would be very sticky.
So For the purposes of starting somewhere, it was regenerative agriculture.
Okay, no, that's fine.
I have a very simple definition. Whatever practice you use increases or decreases SOM or soil carbon. That to me is the ultimate definition of regenerative agriculture or land use.
Yeah, but there's a lot of people think that or a lot of people believe that there's more components to it than just the agricultural component and just the soil organic matter. It's got to also revitalize societies and economies and communities and whatnot. So there's lots of layers to it, but it's certainly, I agree with you, Eric.
Well, one of the reasons why I think we want to focus on the agriculture side of the issue is that seems to be the one where we would have the most direct influence because there's an industry there. It's a little bit that's my general thinking on it. I'm open to critiques, of course.
I think, Brian, you're absolutely right about that. And I think on the edges, we need people pushing to expand that definition while you're focusing in on the agriculture. So it's kind of like kind of pushing the periphery while you're focusing on the center. I think that will help the center as the center will help the periphery. And I say that because that's a lot of what we're focusing on. We don't talk about soil organic matter and even atmospheric and soil carbon as much as we're talking about biodiversity and the essential nature of having many species interacting the way they have to. So I think they're complementary.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, John, just to fill you in, we haven't made tremendous progress with regards to the definition, but it's something that's in the works and that we're working on. So I think that if there's a group interested in working on this, then we can convene. And just being mindful of time, we've only got about 3 minutes left, but I think there's some stuff that we'll have to follow up on by email and perhaps on the next call. So I think the policy track and then the definition track. And then there was also talk of a database, and so database of farms and whatnot. And so there is a project that RI is working on with a French startup called Open Team that I think has the potential to be this database. So if there's anybody interested in connecting about that, we can schedule another meeting and I'd be happy to share with you the developments and ways to get involved. So yeah.
I would be interested in that. I had actually talked about that to Ronnie about 2.5 years ago, but I didn't stay in the loop.
Okay, great. Well, is there any last words? We've got about 2 minutes left. But
this is Eric.
Hey, Eric, go ahead.
This is Eric. Yeah, this is Eric Knight. I'd sent the World Bank study on biochar producing stoves to a couple people. If there's anyone else on the list who would like me to send that study, just say the word.
Yeah, Eric, this is Adam. I'd like to see it.
You have seen it, Adam.
All right. Well, then
I mean, I'll post it to you, but I've posted it, God, a half dozen times or more on the soil age. But I'll certainly add you.
Thanks, Eric. And thanks everyone for joining this call. I think as the calls get bigger, we might have to schedule more interim focus group calls. But it was so great to see all your faces, and thank you, Ursi and Precious, for joining so late at night, even though it's bright out in Morocco.
It's really not that late. It's 8.
Really?
Yeah, it's just 8.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I don't feel so bad.
Oh, we can see your faces now too.
Yeah.
Nice to see you too.
So yeah, thanks everyone for joining, and I encourage you to spread the word about these and invite your colleagues and friends and even family or anyone interested from all the different movements so that we can connect. And I'll share the notes in an email.
Thank you for organizing it, Alex.
Yeah.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank
You're welcome.
you.
And
Bye,
thank you,
Precious.
Scott, for being a strict moderator.
Yeah,
Okay.
for sure.
Bye everyone. I'm gonna hit the record button.
Okay.